What if I told you that the one thing men beg for in the bedroom isn't a position, a trick, or some wild fantasy, but something far more powerful? Something that doesn't just turn them on, but makes them obsess over you long after the lights go out. Because once you understand this, you stop guessing what he wants and start becoming the woman he can't stop thinking about. Most people misunderstand what truly creates powerful sexual chemistry. It's not the act itself that lingers in a man's memory, it's the moments before, the subtle, drawn-out tension that builds in the air and wraps around his thoughts. Emotional anticipation is what turns a physical experience into something unforgettable. It's the reason he replays a moment over and over in his mind, not because of what happened physically, but because of how it made him feel. Long before a single touch, he's already hooked by the way you make the space between you feel charged, as if something could happen at any second. And when it finally does, it feels earned, heightened, explosive. That build-up is the fuel that intensifies everything else. When a man senses that you're not just physically present, but mentally and emotionally tuned into the moment, it creates a kind of craving in him, one that physical pleasure alone can't satisfy. Creating this anticipation is an art. It lives in the pauses, the glances, the deliberate withholding. It's in the way you let a moment stretch, in the way your eyes meet his and then look away slowly, leaving him wondering what you're thinking. It's in the tone of your voice when you say something playful, the way you lean in a little closer than necessary and then pull back just before anything happens. These small acts of restraint aren't games, they're signals. They send a message that you are present, confident, and not in a rush to give everything away all at once. That creates tension, and tension is the birthplace of desire. Men often chase what they feel is just out of reach, not because they want to struggle, but because they want the reward to feel meaningful. When you give them just enough to stir their curiosity, but not enough to satisfy it instantly, you invite them to become more invested. You create a dance, one that makes them feel alive, wanted, and excited. This isn't about withholding affection or interest, it's about mastering timing. It's about pacing the experience in a way that makes it feel richer, more textured, and ultimately more intimate. There's a reason certain moments feel more intense than others, and it often has less to do with what's being done and more to do with what's being expected. Emotional anticipation taps into a man's imagination. It pulls him into the moment with you and keeps him wondering what's coming next. The more present he is with you in that anticipation, the more powerful the connection becomes. It elevates the physical into the emotional, and the emotional into the unforgettable. There's something undeniably attractive about a woman who fully embraces her own desire, not in a performative way, not in a way that's meant to please anyone else, but in a deeply personal, unapologetic, confident way. Men don't just respond to what's done to them physically, they respond to the energy behind it. When a woman moves, touches, speaks, or looks at a man with the energy of, "I want this, and I'm not afraid of wanting it," it changes everything. It shifts the experience from something that's happening to him into something that's being shared with him. It creates a moment where he doesn't feel like he's in control or being controlled, but instead feels like he's part of something that's naturally unfolding, led by mutual desire. That kind of authenticity is magnetic, it's rare, and it makes a man feel like he's witnessing something raw and real, and nothing is more unforgettable than that. When a woman second guesses her body, her touch, or her presence, that hesitation becomes part of the moment. It shows up in how she moves, in how present she allows herself to be. But when she owns her space, when she carries herself with the belief that her pleasure matters just as much as his, it invites a whole new level of connection. Men are drawn to women who aren't just giving, they're experiencing. They're in it. They moan without trying to sound perfect. They move without trying to perform. They enjoy without waiting for permission. That realness, that self-possession, it's electric, because it tells him he's not just with someone who wants to please him, he's with someone who's deeply in tune with her own needs and unafraid to express them, A lot of women grow up being taught to be desirable, but not to desire. They learn how to be attractive, but not how to express attraction. And so when they're finally in intimate situations, they give and give, but forget that what makes the moment powerful isn't just how giving they are, it's how involved they are. When you want him and you let him see it, without shrinking or apologizing or playing coy, you give him the gift of honesty. And more than anything, men crave that kind of real. They crave a partner who lets go, who gets lost in the moment, who isn't afraid to feel and show it. That's what sticks in a man's mind, not just the act itself, but how alive you were in it, how much you allowed yourself to feel. Because when you feel deeply, you create space for him to do the same. And whether or not he knows how to explain it, that's what he's searching for. Not just someone who turns him on, but someone who turns herself on and brings him along for the ride. Men often go through intimate experiences without ever hearing whether they're doing something right. They're expected to know, to perform, to lead. And yet they rarely receive feedback that builds their confidence in the moment. This is where verbal validation becomes a powerful tool. It's not just about telling him he's good. It's about showing him in real time that what he's doing is working, that you're enjoying it, that he's making you feel something. That kind of feedback doesn't just stroke his ego, it grounds him in the moment and makes him feel connected to you in a deeper way. When you whisper something as simple as "I love when you do that," you're doing more than giving praise. You're reinforcing a bond. You're guiding him toward your pleasure while also feeding his own. And that makes everything feel more alive, more intimate, more unforgettable. Many women hold back their words during sex because they're afraid of sounding awkward or saying the wrong thing. But the truth is, men don't want perfection. They want honesty. They want to know that you're there, that you're feeling something, that you're with them. Your words become his roadmap, his permission, his fuel. A soft moan paired with a gentle "don't stop" or "right there" can do more than any technique ever could. It gives him confidence, it pulls him into the present, it tells him without question that he's not alone in this experience. He's not guessing, he's not hoping, he's hearing it from you, and that changes everything. Verbal validation also creates safety. It creates a space where he can relax into the moment, rather than constantly wonder if he's doing it right. Men may not always say it, but they carry pressure too. Pressure to perform, to satisfy, to prove they know what they're doing. And that pressure can pull them out of the connection. When you validate him with your words, you're giving him space to let go of that performance mode. You're letting him know that you see him, that you feel him, and that he's on the right path. That reassurance doesn't make him weak, it makes him more present, more generous, more connected. There's also something deeply erotic about a woman who uses her voice, not just to moan or gasp, but to speak, to share what she wants, to say what she likes, to guide, to affirm, to express. That kind of communication isn't a disruption, it's an enhancement. It turns sex into a dialogue, a shared moment of creation, and it makes a man feel not only wanted but valuable. When you use your words to lift him, you're creating a memory he'll carry long after the moment is over. Because what men beg for isn't just pleasure, it's to feel desired, appreciated, and seen. And sometimes all it takes is a few honest words to give him exactly that. There's a rhythm to intimacy that most people overlook. It's not about being fast or slow, it's about being intentional. And the truth is, the way you pace things can completely transform how a man experiences the moment. When you take control of the pace, not just physically but emotionally, you create a dynamic where he's not just reacting to you, he's feeling guided by you. And that's powerful. Men aren't always used to a woman taking the lead with such calm confidence. When you slow things down at just the right time, when you speed up only after letting tension build to its breaking point, you keep him on edge in the best way possible. That edge is what makes the moment burn brighter in his memory. It's what keeps him locked in, craving more, even after everything is over. Too often, people rush through intimacy like it's a checklist. Kiss, touch, undressed, go. But when you remove that urgency and start playing with time, stretching it, folding it, holding it, you create a sense of suspense. It's that suspense that makes the simplest touch feel electric. You could brush your hand across his skin and it would feel more intense than anything else he's ever experienced, because it's happening in the middle of all this beautiful tension. That's the power of pacing. It turns small gestures into unforgettable ones. It makes the moment feel less like a routine and more like an unfolding story. And when you're the one leading that story with your rhythm, your presence, your timing, he can't help but follow. Pacing also gives you control without having to dominate. It's a quiet kind of leadership. You slow things down and suddenly he's paying more attention. He's watching your face, listening to your breathing, trying to feel your reactions. You're making him more present just by how you move. And in return, you feel more connected to what's happening too. You're not just going through the motions. You're deeply involved in every second of it. And that depth makes the experience feel richer for both of you. It's not just sex anymore, it's exploration. It's communication without words. It's learning each other's responses and shaping the moment as it goes. The moments men remember most aren't always the wildest or loudest. They're the ones where they felt lost in time, where things move just slowly enough to let the emotions rise with the physical tension. When you create that space for him to feel without rushing to the next thing, you give him the chance to actually connect with you. You give him the space to want, to crave, to experience every detail. And the beauty of that is, once a man feels what it's like to be with someone who knows how to pace things just right, he'll never forget it. Because you didn't just give him pleasure, you gave him presence. And that presence is what makes the moment, and you, unforgettable. There's a silent kind of intimacy that speaks louder than anything else. It doesn't come from words or even touch. It comes from the eyes. Most people underestimate how powerful eye contact can be during sex, but the truth is, it's one of the most emotionally charged things you can offer a man. In a world where so much connection is rushed or filtered through distraction, the moment you lock eyes with someone during a vulnerable act, you tell them, I see you, I'm here with you, and I'm not afraid to be fully present. That's rare, and that's why men crave it, even if they don't know how to ask for it. When a man looks into your eyes during an intimate moment and sees that you're fully there, not in your head, not worried about how you look, not holding back emotionally, it creates a rush that goes far beyond the physical. It tells him he's not just having sex, he's being invited into something deeper. It makes him feel safe in his own vulnerability because he sees that you're sharing yours. And that kind of emotional transparency is addictive. It stays with him. It becomes the thing he can't stop thinking about long after everything else fades. Because in that brief locked moment, something real happened. He wasn't just touching your body, he was connecting with your soul. Eye contact during intimacy doesn't need to be constant. In fact, it's more powerful when it's not. It's the brief glances at just the right moment, the kind that hit with intensity and say everything without a single word. It's the look you give him right before you kiss, or the one you hold for a second too long when you're both lost in the moment. Those looks are electric. They send shivers down the spine, not because of what's happening physically, but because of what's happening emotionally underneath. They create a current that runs between you, a silent conversation of trust, desire, and connection. For many men, sex can feel like a performance. They're used to being expected to lead, to impress, to get it right. But when a woman meets them in that moment with open eyes and unguarded energy, it breaks the performance. It allows both people to simply be, to feel, to surrender to the moment without fear of judgment or expectation. That surrender is where the deepest kind of pleasure begins. Not the kind you feel on your skin, but the kind you carry in your chest and your memory. It's the kind that makes him feel chosen, not just desired. The kind that makes him trust you more deeply, crave you more honestly, and remember you more clearly. So much of what makes an experience powerful isn't in what we do, but in how present we allow ourselves to be while doing it. Eye contact is the fastest, most honest way to show presence. It's the invitation into emotional closeness, into being seen and accepted exactly as you are. And when a man experiences that with you, even for just a few seconds, it becomes the moment everything else revolves around. He doesn't just want your body, he wants to feel seen by you again. And he'll keep coming back to the person who gave him that feeling, because no technique, no movement, no words can replicate what it feels like to be truly seen and wanted in the same breath. There's a shift in energy that happens when a woman stops waiting to be chosen and instead chooses. When she initiates intimacy, not with hesitation or apology, but with confidence and intention, it creates a moment that men rarely forget. Most men are used to being the initiators. It's expected of them. They carry the weight of making the first move, reading the signs, taking the risk of rejection. And while many are comfortable with that role, there's something incredibly powerful about a woman who steps forward and says, through her actions, I want you. Not just passively receiving affection, but actively expressing desire. That moment changes everything. It flips the script. It makes the man feel not just wanted, but deeply desired. And that feeling isn't just flattering, it's bonding, it's electric. It creates a level of emotional intimacy that physical connection alone can't reach. Initiation isn't just about starting the act, it's about the energy behind it. It could be a kiss that lingers longer than expected, a whisper in his ear that carries heat, a glance that leaves no room for doubt. It could be the way you reach for his hand under the table, or the way you pull him closer without saying a word. These subtle acts carry weight. They say, I'm in this with you. I'm not waiting. I'm here. That energy is magnetic. It pulls him into the moment with a kind of urgency that doesn't feel pressured. It feels invited. It makes him feel like he's not the one trying to earn your attention, but that he's already won it. That's the moment he starts to feel emotionally safe, not just physically excited. A lot of women hesitate to initiate because they worry about being too much or fear rejection. But the truth is, when it's done with authenticity and not from a place of seeking validation, initiation is one of the most attractive traits a woman can have. It shows that you know what you want, that you're not afraid of expressing it, that you're comfortable enough in your own skin to move toward what excites you. That self-assurance is irresistible to a man, not just because it strokes his ego, but because it gives him something he rarely receives, a moment of being wanted without having to earn it. That feeling is deeply validating. and it makes him look at you differently. Not just as a partner in the moment, but as someone who truly sees him. Initiation also builds trust. It tells him that he doesn't always have to guess, always have to perform, always have to lead, that sometimes he can relax into the moment and let you take the wheel. And that shift allows for a different kind of connection, one built on equality, mutual excitement, and emotional safety. You're not just taking over, you're inviting him into something that feels shared. That sense of mutual desire is rare, and it leaves a lasting impression. At its core, initiating isn't about being bold or aggressive. It's about being present with your desire and giving yourself permission to express it. When you do that, you create moments that don't just arouse a man, they move him, they stay with him. Because in that moment, he wasn't chasing something uncertain, he was being chosen. And that's the kind of memory that never fades. It's not about the technique or the timing, it's about the impact. And nothing hits deeper than feeling truly wanted by someone who isn't afraid to show it. So when you think about what men really crave in intimacy, it's not just about what happens physically, it's about how deeply they feel seen, wanted, and connected. It's the emotional anticipation that pulls them in before a single touch. It's the magnetic confidence of a woman who owns her desire. It's the validation that tells them they're not just performing, but pleasing. It's the rhythm of pacing that turns a moment into a memory. It's the silent message in eye contact that says, "I'm fully here with you." And it's the electric shift when a woman initiates, not from need, but from self-assured passion. These are the things that linger long after the moment has passed. These are the moments that men beg to experience again, not because of what was done, but because of how it made them feel. When you learn to lead with presence, with authenticity, and with emotional depths, you don't just become unforgettable, you become the one they never stop thinking about.